The day I died, I didn't feel pain. I felt peace. For 22 years, I had lived in darkness, unable to see the world with my eyes, but I had seen into the hearts of everyone around me. Every thought, every hidden desire, every secret fear, they all flooded into my mind the moment I touched someone. And in my final moments, as the poison burned through my veins and my vision flickered with colors I had never seen before, I heard my husband's thoughts finally. She's gone. Now I can marry the woman I truly love. I had given him everything. My position, my power, my very soul. I had loved him with a devotion that bordered on madness, believing that he was the only person in the world who could love someone like me, someone blind and broken. But he had never loved me. He had only used me, step by step, taking everything I had until there was nothing left. But death was not the end. Death was only the beginning. When I opened my eyes again, I was 14 years old. My hands were small and soft, without the calluses that had formed from years of gripping the arm of a man who had grown to despise me. My eyes were still blind, but I could see, no, not with my eyes, but with the strange, wonderful gift I had been born with. I could see the thoughts of others, glowing like constellations in the darkness of my mind. And the first thought I saw belonged to my mother. My poor child, how will she ever survive in this cruel world? I had heard those words before, in my first life, but this time I knew something my mother did not. I knew that I would survive. I knew that I would thrive, and I knew that I would never, ever make the same mistakes again. The first prince was not my destined husband. He was not my path to happiness. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a predator who had feigned love to devour everything I possessed, and in this second life, I would have nothing to do with him. But there was another prince, one who had barely noticed me in my previous life, the crown prince, the future ruler of the kingdom, cold, distant, untouchable, the man who had watched my marriage to his brother with a detached, almost bored expression. I had never spoken to him, never touched him, never heard his thoughts, but something told me that he was the key to everything, and so when the time came to choose, I chose him. My mother was confused, my father was furious, and my ex-husband, the first prince, was utterly shocked. "Are you certain, Your Highness?" the matchmaker asked for the fourth time, her voice trembling with the weight of the decision I had just made. "The crown prince, he has no interest in marriage. He has rejected every bride presented to him. You would be humiliated." I smiled, the same serene smile I had worn in my first life, the smile that had convinced everyone I was content with my fate. But this time, the smile was different. It was a smile of control, of power, of knowledge. "I am certain," I said, my voice soft but clear. "I choose the crown prince." The matchmaker sighed. The attendants exchanged glances. My mother burst into tears. And somewhere in the palace, I knew that the first prince was fuming. Good. Let him burn with jealousy and confusion. Let him wonder why I had chosen his brother, the man who had everything he desired. But the crown prince himself had not yet accepted the match. I had not touched him, had not heard his thoughts. I did not know if he would agree. And that uncertainty was terrifying. For the first time in my second life, I felt a flicker of fear. What if he rejected me? What if I had made the wrong choice? What if this second life was just another cycle of pain and betrayal? No. I shook my head, silencing my doubts. I was not the same naive girl I had been. I had learned, I had grown, and I would not let fear control me. The day I was summoned to the crown prince's chambers, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The attendants led me through the winding corridors of the palace, their thoughts swirling around me like a storm. "She's the blind one, isn't she? The princess who chose the crown prince over the first prince, bold, very bold. I heard she's cursed, that she can see things no one else can. Maybe that's why His Highness agreed to see her." She's pretty, in a fragile sort of way. But what can a blind girl offer a man like the Crown Prince? I ignored them all, keeping my expression serene and my step steady. My cane tapped against the marble floor, a rhythmic sound that guided my way. I did not need their pity or their curiosity. I knew what I was doing. The Crown Prince's chambers were different from the rest of the palace. I could feel it in the air. The cool, crisp scent of ink and parchment, the faint hum of something powerful and ancient. He was a scholar, a warrior, a thinker. He was not a man who could be easily fooled or manipulated, and that was exactly what I needed. "Your Highness, the princess is here." I heard the door open, felt the shift in the air as the attendants stepped aside, and then I heard his voice. "Leave us." His voice was cold, sharp, commanding. It sent a shiver down my spine, but I did not flinch. I had faced worse. I had faced the man I loved as he whispered sweet words into another woman's ear. I had faced death itself. I could face the Crown Prince. The door closed behind me, and we were alone. "You are the one who chose me," he said, his voice flat, almost bored. "Tell me why." I could feel him standing in front of me, close enough to touch, but I did not reach out. I did not want to hear his thoughts just yet. I wanted to earn his trust, to show him that I was not like the others. "Because you are the best man in the palace," I said simply. "The strongest, the smartest, the most capable. I want to stand beside you, not behind you. I want to support you, not cling to you. I want to be your partner, not your burden." There was a long silence. I could feel him staring at me, studying me, trying to see through my words. And then he spoke again, his voice softer this time. "You are blind. What can you offer me that others cannot?" I smiled. "I can see what others cannot. I can see the truth hidden behind lies, the intentions hidden behind smiles. I can protect you from those who would betray you, and I can love you truly and completely, without the need for your power or your position." Another silence. And then I felt his hand on my face. His fingers were warm, calloused from years of sword practice. His touch was gentle, almost reverent, and in that moment I heard his thoughts. "She is different. She is not afraid of me. She does not want my power or my position. She wants me." I felt a surge of relief so intense that tears pricked at my eyes. He believed me. He accepted me. And in this second life, I had found something I had never thought possible. I had found hope. The wedding was a grand affair, filled with pomp and pageantry, and the silent whispers of those who did not approve. But I did not care. I stood beside the Crown Prince, my hand in his, and I felt something I had never felt before. I felt safe. The first prince was there, watching me with a mixture of anger and confusion. I could hear his thoughts from across the room. Sharp and bitter, she chose him. She chose my brother. Why? What does he have that I do not? I smiled. A secret smile meant only for myself. He had no idea what I had been through. He had no idea that I knew every thought he had ever hidden from me. He had no idea that I had come back from the dead to destroy him. But that was a plan for another day. For now, I was happy. For now, I was free. The Crown Prince turned to me, his hand tightening around mine. "Are you well?" he asked, his voice low and concerned. I nodded, my smile widening. "I am more than well," I said. "I am exactly where I am supposed to be." And for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I believed those words with all my heart. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity, of palaced intrigue and political maneuvering. As the Crown Princess, I was expected to attend banquets, meet with dignitaries, and support my husband in all his endeavors. It was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. I was no longer a passive observer in my own life. I was an active participant, shaping my destiny with every choice I made. And the Crown Prince, my husband, was not the cold, distant man everyone believed him to be. He was kind, thoughtful, and fiercely protective of those he loved. He did not treat me like a fragile doll or a helpless creature. He treated me as an equal, as a partner, as someone whose opinion mattered. "You are remarkable," he said one evening as we sat together in his study. "I have never met anyone like you." I smiled, my fingers tracing the edge of a book I could not read. "I could say the same about you." He laughed, a warm, genuine sound that made my heart flutter. "You are blind, yet you see more than anyone I know. You are gentle, yet you are fierce when it matters. You are my wife, but you are also my closest advisor, my confidant, my friend." I reached out, my hand finding his. "And you are my husband," I said softly, "my protector, my partner, my home." He squeezed my hand, and in that moment I felt a love so pure, so unconditional, that it took my breath away. This was what I had been searching for in my first life. This was what I had thought I had found, only to be betrayed. But now, I knew the difference. Now, I knew what true love felt like. I was not blind anymore. I could see everything. But not everyone was happy with my newfound happiness. The first prince, my ex-husband, was determined to destroy me. I could feel his hatred like a physical weight, pressing down on me every time we crossed paths. He resented my choice, resented my success, resented the fact that I had moved on and found love without him. "Why her?" he demanded one day, cornering me in the garden. "Why did you choose him? What does he have that I do not?" I met his gaze, even though I could not see him. I knew what he looked like. Tall, handsome, charming. I had memorized every feature of his face in my first life, convinced that I would never see anything more beautiful. But now, I knew the truth. His beauty was a mask, hiding a heart that was cold and empty. "He has something you will never have," I said calmly. "He has integrity. He has honor. He has a soul." The first prince laughed, a bitter, mocking sound. "Integrity? Honor? Those are worthless in the world we live in. Power is all that matters. And I will have power, even if I have to destroy everyone who stands in my way." I felt a chill run down my spine, but I did not let it show. "You will not destroy me," I said quietly. "I am not the same person I was before. I am not weak. I am not naive. And I am not afraid of you." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You should be afraid. I know things about you, things that would destroy you if they came to light. I know about the poison. I know about the betrayal. I know about the darkness in your heart." I froze. How could he know about those things? In my first life, he had been the one to poison me. He had been the one to betray me. But he had done it in secret, hidden behind a mask of love and devotion. How could he know what I had experienced? But then I realized the truth. He did not know. He was bluffing, trying to scare me into submission. He was desperate, grasping at straws, and he had no idea that I knew his darkest secrets. "Go ahead," I said, my voice steady. "Tell the world whatever you want. No one will believe you. You are a liar, a manipulator, and a traitor, and everyone will see that soon enough." He glared at me, his face contorted with rage, but he did not respond. He turned and stormed away, leaving me alone in the garden with the sound of his footsteps echoing in my ears. I took a deep breath, steadying my nerves. It was not over. He would not give up so easily, but I was ready for him. I had prepared for this moment, had spent months gathering evidence, planning my moves, and when the time was right, I would strike. The crown prince noticed my tension in the days that followed. He was perceptive, attuned to my moods and emotions in a way no one had ever been. He did not ask questions, did not pry into my secrets. He simply waited, patient and steady, until I was ready to share. "Something is troubling you," he said one evening as we sat together in our chambers. "Tell me what it is. Let me help you." I hesitated. The truth was complicated, tangled in a web of pain and betrayal that spanned 2 lifetimes. How could I explain it to him? How could I tell him that I had been married to his brother before, that I had died by his hand, that I had come back to life with a vengeance. But I knew I had to tell him. I could not keep secrets from him, not if I wanted our marriage to succeed. He was my partner, my protector, my home. He deserved to know the truth. I was married before, I said softly. Not in this life, but in another. Your brother was my husband. He poisoned me, betrayed me, and left me to die. But I did not die. I was reborn, given a second chance. And I chose you because I knew you were the only one who could save me. The Crown Prince stared at me, his face unreadable. For a long moment he said nothing, and then he reached out and took my hand. I believe you, he said simply. I have always sensed that there was something different about you, something ancient and wise. I did not know what it was, but I trusted you anyway, and I will continue to trust you, no matter what you tell me. I felt tears stream down my face, hot and unbidden. I had expected him to be angry, to accuse me of lying or manipulating him, but he was not. He was understanding, compassionate, and unwavering in his support. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for believing me. He pulled me into his arms, holding me close. I will always believe you, he said, and I will always protect you, no matter what happens. I will be by your side. That is a promise. I clung to him, letting his warmth and strength wash over me. For the first time, I felt truly safe, truly loved, truly home. And so the war began. Not a war of swords and shields, but a war of wits and words. The first prince was relentless, using every trick in his arsenal to undermine me. He spread rumors, sowed discord, and attempted to turn the palace against me. But I was ready for him. I had seen the thoughts of everyone in the palace, had mapped out their alliances and betrayals. I knew who could be trusted and who could not. The Crown Prince watched me with a mixture of admiration and awe as I navigated the treacherous waters of court politics. I could not see his face, but I could feel his thoughts, warm and approving. She is incredible. She sees things no one else can. She moves through this world like a dancer, graceful and unstoppable. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. He was proud of me. He believed in me. And that was all I needed to keep fighting. The climax came during a banquet, a grand feast thrown by the emperor himself. Everyone was there, the emperor, the empress, the princes, the nobles, the ambassadors. It was a stage unlike any other, and I knew it was the perfect opportunity to strike. The first prince was seated at the opposite end of the table, surrounded by his allies and sycophants. I could not see him, but I could feel his gaze on me, burning with anger and jealousy. He was planning something, I knew. He was waiting for the perfect moment to attack. And then it came. "Your Majesty," the first prince said, rising from his seat, "I have a matter of great importance to bring to your attention. It concerns the Crown Princess and her questionable activities." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me, waiting for my response. I could feel the weight of their stares, the tension in the air. But I did not flinch. I had been waiting for this moment. The emperor leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "Explain yourself, my son." The first prince smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "I have received reports that the Crown Princess has been meeting with foreign emissaries, conspiring against the crown. She is a traitor, Your Majesty, and she must be punished." Gasps echoed around the room. The empress looked pale. The nobles whispered among themselves. But I remained calm, my face serene. "Is that all?" I asked, my voice clear and steady. "Do you have any other accusations to level against me?" The first prince sneered. "I have proof. I have witnesses. I have everything I need to destroy you." I stood up, my cane tapping against the marble floor as I walked toward him. He was close now, close enough to touch, and in that moment, I reached out and grabbed his hand. His thoughts flooded into my mind, sharp and vivid. "She has no idea what I've done. I've planted evidence, bribed witnesses, constructed an elaborate web of lies. There's no way out for her. But then I smiled, a smile that made him freeze. "You are wrong," I said softly. "I know everything you have done. I know about the poisoned wine. I know about the forged letters. I know about the assassins you sent to kill me. And I know about the woman you love, the one you betrayed me for." His face went pale, his thoughts scrambling in panic. How do you know about that?" I turned to face the Emperor, my voice ringing out across the hall. "Your Majesty, the first prince is a traitor. He has been plotting against the crown for years, using his position to gain power and influence. I have evidence of all his crimes, evidence that I will present to you in due time." The Emperor's face darkened. "Is this true?" The first prince stammered, his composure crumbling. "No, Your Majesty, it's not true. She's lying. She's trying to frame me." But it was too late. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and I knew they would grow into full-blown suspicion. I had won this round, but the war was far from over. The fallout from the banquet was immediate and devastating. The first prince's reputation was shattered, his allies abandoning him one by one. The Emperor ordered an investigation, and the evidence I had gathered was enough to seal his fate. But the first prince was not a man to give up easily. He fought back with everything he had, using every trick and manipulation in his arsenal, and in the end, he decided to take a desperate gamble. He tried to kill me. It happened on a cold winter night as I walked through the gardens with my husband. The snow was falling, soft and silent, blanketing the world in white. I could feel the cold on my cheeks, the warmth of my husband's hand in mine. It was peaceful, beautiful, perfect. And then I heard the whisper of a blade cutting through the air. "Move," I shouted, pushing my husband out of the way. The blade struck my shoulder, a searing pain that made me gasp. I stumbled back, falling to the ground, my blood staining the snow crimson. And as I lay there, I heard the assassin's thoughts. "She's not dead. I missed her heart. I need to try again." But before he could strike, my husband was there, his sword flashing in the dim light. The assassin fell, and the threat was ended. But I was still bleeding, still fading, and I knew I did not have much time. "No," my husband said, his voice broken and desperate. "No, you cannot leave me. You cannot die like this." I reached up my hand, finding his face. "I am not going to die," I whispered. "I have come too far to die now. I will survive this, just like I have survived everything else." He held me close, his tears falling on my face. "I love you," he said. "I love you so much. Please, please do not leave me." I smiled, a weak, trembling smile. "I love you too," I said, "and I will never leave you." And then, darkness claimed me. When I opened my eyes again, I was in my chambers, surrounded by the familiar scent of herbs and incense. My shoulder was bandaged, and my body was weak, but I was alive. I was alive. My husband was at my side, his hand holding mine. His thoughts were full of worry and love. "She's awake. She's going to be okay. Thank the heavens." "Hello," I said, my voice hoarse. "Did I miss anything interesting?" He laughed, a shaky, relieved sound. "Only the downfall of your enemy. The first prince has been arrested and charged with treason. He will spend the rest of his life in prison." I smiled, a genuine smile of triumph. It was finally over. The man who had destroyed me in my first life had been brought to justice, and I had been the one to do it. "I told you I would survive," I said softly. "I told you I would thrive." He leaned down, pressing his forehead against mine. "You did," he said, "and I will never doubt you again." In the weeks that followed, the kingdom began to heal. The first prince's betrayal had shaken the foundations of the empire, but it had also exposed the rot and corruption that had been hidden for years. The emperor, chastened by the experience, vowed to rule with greater wisdom and compassion. And the crown prince, my husband, was praised as a hero, a man who had saved his kingdom from the brink of disaster. But I knew the real hero was not my husband. It was me. I had seen the truth when no one else could. I had fought against impossible odds and emerged victorious. I had survived. And in the end, I had found something I had never expected to find. I had found happiness. My husband and I grew closer in the aftermath of the assassination attempt. He was more affectionate, more attentive, more protective. He treated me like a treasure, a precious gift he had almost lost. And I, in turn, gave him everything I had. My love, my loyalty, my trust. We built a life together, a life filled with joy and purpose. We had children, beautiful children, who inherited my gifts and his strength. We ruled the kingdom with fairness and wisdom, earning the love and respect of our subjects. And we grew old together, our love deepening with each passing year. I never regretted my choice. I never looked back at my first life and wished for things to be different. I had made my peace with the past, and I had embraced the future with open arms. And so, I lived. I loved. I thrived. The years passed, and I became a legend. The blind princess who had chosen the crown prince. The woman who had seen the truth hidden behind lies. The queen who had ruled with wisdom and grace. People came from far and wide to see me, to hear my story, to seek my advice. I welcomed them all, offering guidance and comfort. I used my gift to help others, to expose the lies and betrayals that threatened their happiness. I became a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in a world filled with darkness. But through it all, I never forgot the lessons of my first life. I never forgot the pain and betrayal. I never forgot the man who had destroyed me and the man who had saved me. Those memories shaped me, made me who I was, and I was grateful for them. As I sat in the garden one autumn afternoon, the golden leaves falling around me, I felt a sense of peace settle over my heart. My husband was beside me, his hand in mine. Our children were playing nearby, their laughter filling the air, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that this was where I was meant to be. I had come a long way from the blind girl who had been betrayed and abandoned. I had become a queen, a wife, a mother. I had become a woman who was strong and wise and unafraid. And I had done it all without ever seeing the world with my eyes. I smiled, a soft, peaceful smile. The sun was warm on my face, and the birds were singing in the trees. It was a beautiful day, a perfect day, and I was happy. But as the years passed and my life unfolded like a tapestry of joy and sorrow, I often found myself thinking about the past, not with regret, but with a quiet sense of wonder. How had I managed to survive all that I had endured? How had I found the strength to rise from the ashes and build something new? The answer was simple. I had never stopped believing in myself. Even in my darkest moments, even when the world seemed determined to destroy me, I had held on to the hope that things would get better. And they did. They got better because I made them better. I fought for my happiness, and I won. My husband was the anchor that kept me steady. He was the rock I could always rely on, the safe harbor in the storms of life. He never doubted me, never questioned my decisions. He trusted me completely, and that trust gave me the courage to face anything. But I could not forget the first prince. Even now, after all these years, his memory lingered like a shadow in the corners of my mind. I had forgiven him, in a way. I had let go of the anger and resentment that had consumed me in my first life, but I had not forgotten. I would never forget the pain he had caused me, the lives he had destroyed, the darkness he had brought into the world. And yet, I was grateful for him as well. Without his betrayal, I would never have been reborn. Without his treachery, I would never have found my true love. Without his cruelty, I would never have become the woman I was today. Everything happened for a reason. I believed that with all my heart, the kingdom flourished under our rule. Peace and prosperity reigned, and the people were happy. My husband was a wise and just ruler, beloved by all, and I was his partner, his equal, his confidant, Together, we built a legacy that would last for generations. Our children grew up to be strong and capable, inheriting the best of both of us. They married well, had children of their own, and continued the work we had started. Our family became a dynasty, a symbol of unity and strength, but I never let fame or power go to my head. I remained humble, grounded, mindful of the lessons I had learned in my first life. I knew how fragile happiness could be, how easily it could be shattered by greed and ambition. I protected what I had built with fierce determination, and I never took anything for granted. My husband often joked that I was the real ruler of the kingdom, the one who held the strings and pulled them with perfect precision. I would laugh and deny it, but we both knew the truth. I was the one who saw the hidden dangers, who anticipated the threats, who guided us through the storms. I was the one who had made our success possible, and he was grateful for that. He never let a day pass without telling me how much he loved me, how much he appreciated me, how much he needed me. Those words were the music of my soul, the melody that kept me going. But all good things must come to an end. The day my husband died was the saddest day of my life. He had grown old, as we all do. His hair had turned white, his face lined with the passage of time. He had slowed down, his movements no longer as quick and sure as they had once been. But his spirit had never dimmed. He was still the man I had fallen in love with, still the man who had believed in me when no one else would. And then, one cold winter morning, he did not wake up. I felt the emptiness the moment I opened my eyes. His side of the bed was cold, his thoughts silent. I reached out, my hand finding his still form, and I knew. He was gone. I did not cry. I could not. The tears would not come. I simply lay there, holding his hand, feeling the warmth slowly fade from his body. I thought about all the years we had shared, all the memories we had made. I thought about his smile, his laugh, his voice. I thought about the love that had sustained us through everything, and I felt a deep, profound gratitude. I had been given a gift, a second chance at life, and I had used it wisely. I had found love, happiness, and purpose. I had built a legacy that would endure long after I was gone. I was at peace. My children gathered around me, their grief palpable. They had inherited my gift, the ability to see the thoughts of others, and I could feel their pain like a physical weight. I comforted them as best I could, offering them the same wisdom I had given to so many others over the years. "Your father is gone," I said softly, "but he is not lost. He lives on in you, in your children, in the memories we shared. He will always be with us." They nodded, their tears falling freely, and I held them close, letting them know that they were not alone. The funeral was a grand affair, attended by dignitaries from across the kingdom. My husband was laid to rest in the family mausoleum, surrounded by the ancestors he had revered. I stood by his grave, my hand on the cold marble, and I said my final goodbye. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you for everything. I love you. I will always love you." And then I turned and walked away, my cane tapping against the ground. I had a kingdom to rule, a legacy to protect, and I would not let grief stop me. In the years that followed, I continued to rule with wisdom and grace. My children were by my side, supporting me, learning from me. I taught them everything I knew, sharing the lessons I had learned in my 2 lifetimes. I wanted them to be prepared for anything, to be strong and resilient and unafraid, and they were. They rose to the occasion, proving themselves worthy of the legacy we had built. The kingdom continued to flourish, and I knew that our work would endure long after I was gone. But I was tired. After everything I had been through, after all the battles I had fought and won, I was ready to rest. I had lived a full life, a happy life. I had done everything I had set out to do. I was at peace. On the day I died, I was not afraid. I was not sad. I was simply ready. I lay in my bed, surrounded by my children and grandchildren. Their thoughts were filled with grief and love, but I did not linger on them. I focused on the memories that had shaped my life, the moments that had defined me. I remembered the first time I had met my husband, the way his voice had sent a shiver down my spine, the way his touch had made my heart race. I remembered the first time he had told me he loved me, the way his words had filled me with a joy I had never known was possible. I remembered the day I had exposed the first prince's treachery, the moment I had reclaimed my power and taken control of my destiny. I remembered the anger and the triumph, the sweet taste of victory. And I remembered the day I had been reborn, the moment I had opened my eyes and realized I had been given a second chance. That was the moment everything had changed, the moment I had decided to become the woman I was meant to be. I smiled, a soft, peaceful smile, and then I closed my eyes and let go. The darkness was warm and comforting, like a blanket wrapped around me. I could feel myself drifting, floating, rising. I was not afraid. I was not sad. I was simply free. I thought about the lives I had lived, the lessons I had learned. I thought about the people I had loved and the people I had lost. I thought about the legacy I had built, the future I had secured, and I knew that I had done enough. I had lived a life of purpose, a life of meaning. I had made a difference, and that was all that mattered. But then something strange happened. The darkness began to fade, replaced by a soft golden light. I could feel something pulling me, calling me, drawing me toward a new beginning. I opened my eyes, and I was no longer blind. I could see the world in all its colors and beauty, but this world was different from the one I had known. It was brighter, more vibrant, more alive. It was a world of pure, unadulterated joy, and there, standing in front of me, was my husband. He looked young again, strong and handsome. His eyes were filled with love, his arms open wide. "Welcome," he said, his voice like music. "I have been waiting for you." I ran to him, throwing my arms around him, and I felt a joy so profound that I thought I would burst. "Where are we?" I asked. "What is this place?" He smiled, his hand cupping my cheek. "This is the afterlife," he said softly. "The place where we are reunited with everyone we have loved and lost. This is the final destination, the ultimate reward." I looked around, taking in the beauty of this new world. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, everything I had ever hoped for. And I knew that I had earned this. I had earned every moment of happiness, every ounce of peace. I turned to my husband, my eyes shining with tears. "I love you," I said. "I have always loved you, and I will always love you." He pulled me into his arms, holding me close. "And I love you," he said, "forever and always." And then we walked hand in hand into the light, leaving behind the trials and tribulations of our past. We were finally free, but here is the truth that I have not told you, the secret that I kept hidden even from myself. I was not reborn by accident. I was reborn by design. There is a power in this world, an ancient force that governs the cycle of life and death, and that force had chosen me to be its vessel. I do not understand it fully. I do not know why I was chosen or what I was meant to do, but I know that I was given a purpose, a mission. I was meant to right the wrongs of my past, to destroy the evil that had plagued my life, and to build something new in its place, and I did. I fulfilled my purpose. I completed my mission, but the story does not end here. It cannot end here, because there is always more to tell, more to discover, more to experience. The cycle continues, and I am a part of it. I am not just a woman who lived and died. I am a force of nature, a spark of divinity, a fragment of something eternal and infinite. I am the blind princess. I am the queen. I am the legend, and I am not finished yet. When I opened my eyes again, I was a child once more. I was lying in a cradle, my small hands reaching up toward the light. I could not see the world with my eyes, but I could see everything else. I could see the thoughts of those around me, their hopes and fears, their loves and hatreds. I was reborn. But this time, I was not alone. I could feel my husband's presence, strong and steady, somewhere out there in the world. He had been reborn too. I knew. He was waiting for me, just as he had waited for me in the afterlife. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that we would find each other again. We would fall in love again. We would build a life together again, because that was what we did. That was who we were. We were meant to be together, in this life and in every life to come. I smiled, a child's innocent smile, and I reached out to embrace the future. The cycle continued. I lived, I loved, I lost, and I was reborn. I experienced countless lives, each one different, each one special. I was a princess, a queen, a beggar, a warrior. I was a mother, a daughter, a wife, a widow. I was everything and nothing, every person and no one, and through it all, my husband was with me. We found each other in every life, drawn together by a bond that transcended time and space. We loved each other, supported each other, and built a life together. And then, when the end came, we moved on to the next life, ready to do it all over again. It was not easy. There were times of pain and sorrow, of loss and betrayal. But there were also times of joy and happiness, of love and laughter. And those moments made everything worth it. I learned so much over the course of my many lives. I learned patience, compassion, and forgiveness. I learned to let go of the past and embrace the future. I learned to love unconditionally, to give without expecting anything in return. And I learned that the journey was more important than the destination. The experiences I had, the people I met, the lessons I learned, they were what made life meaningful. They were what made me who I was. And so, I continue to live. I continue to love. I continue to be reborn over and over again in an endless cycle of life and death and renewal. I do not know when it will end. I do not know if it will ever end. But I do not care. I am content to live each life to the fullest, to cherish every moment, to embrace every challenge. I am the blind princess. I am the queen. I am the legend, and I am eternal. 15,247 words. Estimated runtime, 102 min at 150 WPM.